Homes destroyed by Hurricane Ian are already back on the market in Southwest Florida, and they look completely fine. If that sounds too good to be true, it is. I've seen this play out again and again. I've been in this market for about 27 years, and today I'm bringing on the types of homes you should never buy. The last one will honestly blow your mind. Let's start with the gap between what people expect and what's actually true out here. You need to understand this before anything. Cape Coral and Fort Myers sit right on the Gulf Coast. The land is completely flat. They're around 10 to 20 feet above sea level. Some spots are even lower. No hills, no elevation, nothing slowing down storm surge when it comes in. And then you've got the canals. Over 400 miles of them run through Cape Coral. It's amazing for boating and lifestyle, but it also means a lot of homes are right on the water, and those areas feel storms fast. So you take flat land, canals everywhere, and a Gulf location, and yeah, flooding becomes a real conversation out here. Hurricane Ian wasn't some one-off thing. It was a reminder what this area can deal with. Now layer insurance on top of that. A lot of major insurance companies have pulled back or left coastal Florida altogether. The ones still writing policies, they're stricter and they're charging more. So that changes the math of what a home actually costs every month. Then you've got new construction. Projects like Hudson Creek, over 1,700 acres, and 7 islands near Burn Store, and other developments, they're adding thousands of homes into the market. That creates competition, and that competition puts pressure on older homes, especially when it comes to value and resale. But keep that in mind for later when we talk about manufactured homes, because this setup hits those harder than people expect. Stick with me. Now, at the end of the day, the biggest mistakes here aren't usually the purchase price. It's the long-term costs people didn't plan for. That's the lens you want to use for everything in this video. And before we go any further, if you're trying to figure out what a home is actually worth right now, I do in-depth home evaluations. I'll break down your property, the comps, what buyers are actually paying, and where you really stand, so you can make a smart move. The link's in the description. Go check it out. All right, let's keep going. So when I talk to buyers about flood risk, the question I get the most is, how do I know if a home has flooded before? That's the right question. And out here, it matters more than almost anywhere else. Look, I will stay away from homes that have already taken water, especially ones near canals or low areas that got hit during Hurricane Ian in 2022, or even some of the storms in 2024, because the land actually changed in some of these spots. Drainage is different now. Certain areas don't move water the same way they used to. So if a home flooded once, it's already showing you it can flood. That risk doesn't just disappear because someone fixed it up. Hurricane Ian came in as a category 4 and pushed over 7 feet of water into parts of Cape Coral and Fort Myers. And in some areas near Fort Myers Beach, it was even higher. The areas closer to the harbor, the river, Malechay Pass, those got hit the hardest. And a lot of those homes have been repaired and put back on the market. Some of them look completely fine, but unless that house was torn down and rebuilt or lifted up, which is very expensive, you're buying something with a flood history. And you're hoping the next storm is different. I wouldn't take that risk. For flood insurance, you can usually get it. It just depends how much you're willing to pay. But homeowners insurance on a house that's already flooded, that's where it gets tough. Rates can jump a lot, and sometimes you'll need to do major updates just to get coverage at all. And this ties into inspections too. A good inspector can usually spot signs of past flood damage, even if it wasn't disclosed. But I'll cover that later. Stay tuned. Now, one more thing. If a teller tells you the water came right up to the door but didn't get inside, don't take that as a good sign. Take it as a warning, because out here, a near miss can easily turn into a direct hit with the next storm. So always check the flood history. Look at FEMA maps. Know your zone before you get attached to a deal. Now, flooded homes are the obvious risk, but what a lot of buyers do next is try to avoid that by going inland. And sometimes that leads them straight into a different problem. Going just a few blocks inland, buyers can find an older house that looks solid and think they made the safe move. And sometimes they did, but sometimes they just swap one problem for another. Older homes aren't automatically bad. Some of the best locations in Cape Coral and Fort Myers are in those established neighborhoods. With bigger lots, good positioning, canal access nearby, that stuff still matters. But an older home that hasn't been updated properly is where things start stacking up. Florida's building codes changed a lot starting in the mid-90s. Before 96, there wasn't a statewide requirement for hurricane-resistant construction. So homes built before that weren't required to have the same structural strength you see today. And then in 2002, the codes got even stricter. And homes from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and there are a lot of them in Cape, those were built to a completely different standard. And you don't always see that in photos. You see it in the inspection, you see it in the insurance quote. Things like roof condition, old materials, possible rot, termite issues, all of that becomes a factor, especially during storms. Then there's the value side. There's a lot of new construction in the market right now. So when buyers are comparing, newer homes built to current code are competing directly with older ones. And the older homes have to be priced right to keep up. I've seen a lot of them sit, price drop, relist, sit again. There's usually a reason. But the real question with an older home isn't just what it costs to buy, it's whether it's been brought up to today's standards. New roof, impact windows, updated electrical, updated plumbing, all done properly. Because if it hasn't, that's where things get tricky. And that leads right into the next type of home you want to watch out for in this market. So after Hurricane Ian in 2022, there was a huge wave of renovations all over. Damaged homes got fixed, older homes got flipped. Investors moved fast, did the work, and put them right back on the market. And I mean, some of that work was done really well, some of it wasn't. And from the outside, you usually can't tell the difference. But when things get rushed, and they did out here, corners get cut. Cheaper materials, work done without permits, quick cosmetic updates to make it look good. New tile, fresh paint, nice countertops, good staging, and it shows really well. But underneath, there can be real issues. Work is a big deal. And once you buy the house, that becomes your problem. If it comes up later during an inspection or when you try to do your own updates, you could be forced to bring everything up to code. And that can mean extra costs, fines, and redoing work that was already done. And this actually connects to HOAs too, because in communities with stricter oversight, this kind of quick flip is hard to pull off. Keep this in mind for when we talk about HOA later on. Now, there's what people call the lipstick flip. Looks amazing online, but a few months later, you realize the roof was patched instead of properly fixed. The electrical was changed but never permitted, or the windows were installed but not sealed right. That's where your inspection matters the most. Get a good one. Someone who checks the attic, looks at the structure, opens the panel, really goes through everything. And don't look at that report like it's bad news, it's leverage. If issues come up, you go back to the seller. Ask for repairs, price reductions, or credits. Most of the time, there's a way to work it out. But just because a home looks renovated doesn't mean it's a safe buy. Some of the most expensive mistakes come from the nicest looking listings. And the next type of home, a lot of out-of-state buyers don't even think about it. Have you ever heard of manufactured or modular homes? Yeah, the lower price is real, but the risk that comes with it, that's real too. And out here, you've got to look at both sides. I'd stay away from manufactured and modular homes in this market. I get why people look at them. In parts of Cape Coral and Fort Myers, they're way cheaper than traditional homes. If you're on a tighter budget, it's hard not to consider it. But long term, it usually doesn't play out the way people expect, especially homes built before 1994. Those weren't designed to handle the kind of winds we get on the Gulf Coast. And Ian showed that pretty clearly. Entire communities of manufactured homes were wiped out. There's a big difference in how those homes perform compared to newer site-built homes during a major storm. Even the newer manufactured homes, they're better built, but they still carry more risk than a standard home in this area. And then you've got the resale side. They don't appreciate the same way. There's a smaller pool of buyers, financing can be more limited, and when it's time to sell, it's usually a tougher exit. Insurance is another piece people don't think about. Coverage can be harder to get, especially for wind. And when you do get it, it can be more expensive. In a market where insurance is already a big factor, that matters a lot. Now, for some people, in certain situations, it can work. But if you're thinking long-term, building value, having stability, there are usually better options at similar price points. And that leads into the one that catches the most buyers, because it looks like a deal at first glance. You find a home that's priced way below everything else around it. It looks decent, has a solid location, and the seller seems ready to move. Before you get excited about that price, there's one thing you need to check: the number on the listing. That's not the real cost of the home. The real cost is what you pay every month to own it. And insurance is a big part of that. Property taxes in Lee County are around 1% with homestead, so that's pretty manageable. But insurance, homeowners plus flood if you need it, that's where things can swing a lot depending on the property. Right now, insurance companies are looking for certain upgrades. Things like a new roof, shutters, or impact windows. If a home doesn't have that, premiums go up fast. So what happens is you get a lower purchase price, but a much higher monthly cost, and that deal disappears pretty quickly. The buyer finds a good price, goes under contract, then tries to get insurance, and their property doesn't qualify in its current condition. And if you can't insure it, the lender won't close. So now you're stuck with two options: pay cash and fix everything before getting coverage, or walk away. And those repairs can easily run into the tens of thousands. Flood insurance, most of the time you can get it. It's just about how much you're paying. The bigger issue is homeowners insurance and whether the house meets current standards. After Ian, those standards got stricter, and the companies still writing policies are being very selective. So here's what I tell people: check insurance early and get quotes during your inspection period before you get attached to the house. Because a home in the low to mid 300s can feel a lot less affordable when insurance adds a few hundred extra per month. That's where a lot of buyers get caught. Now, that covers the hidden costs tied to the property itself. The next one is different. It's about a decision most people make before they even start looking at homes. I hear this all the time. People tell me, I don't want an HOA. The fees are too high. I want more freedom. And I get it. In a lot of markets, skipping the HOA is the easy financial choice. But out here, you really need to run the numbers first. Cape Coral and Fort Myers can get pretty expensive when it comes to HOA fees. A lot of communities are in the mid to upper 400s a month, and some in Cape go over $1,000 a month. So yeah, at first glance, it seems obvious, just avoid them. But a lot of buyers stop there, because when you're in an HOA, a lot of that monthly fee is covering stuff you'd be paying for anyway. Landscaping, pest control, common area maintenance, and sometimes even some of the exterior maintenance too. And in Florida, pest control is not optional. Lawn care adds up too. It's a year-round expense out here. Remember what we talked about with bad flips earlier? In a well-run HOA community, there are usually more standards in place, which makes that kind of rushed, sloppy renovation harder to get away with. That matters more than people think. Now, if you go non-HOA, yeah, you usually get more freedom. A lot of times you get a bigger lot too. And for some buyers, that alone makes it worth it. But once you start adding up lawn care, pest control, landscaping, and everything else you're handling on your own, the monthly cost is not always that different. Sometimes it's close. Sometimes the HOA property actually ends up making more sense, especially if it comes with amenities you never pay for on your own. So don't just assume no HOA means a better deal. Do the math. Get real quotes for that specific property. Look at the lot size, look at the upkeep, then compare the real monthly number. Because the next step is what ties all of this together. And honestly, it's the one thing that can protect you from every mistake we've talked about so far. After everything we talked about, flood history, older construction, bad flips, insurance issues, all of that, the home inspection is what brings it into focus before you close. That's your safety net. And out here in Southwest Florida, I mean, it matters even most because there's so much you just can't see on the surface. A good inspector here is going to look at the stuff that actually matters for this area: roof condition and age, any signs of water getting in, whether the home really meets current hurricane standards, electrical panels, especially in older Cape homes, because a lot of those 60s and 70s houses have aluminum wiring, which can be a problem for safety and insurance. And plumbing too. Inspectors look for signs of damage that maybe got covered up instead of fixed the right way. That's the stuff hiding behind fresh paint and new countertops. That's the stuff that doesn't always get disclosed. And that's the stuff that costs people real money after they've already moved in. Now, here's the part people don't talk about enough: the inspection report. As I said before, that's not bad news. You have to take it as leverage. When things come up, and they usually do, you go back to the seller, ask for repairs, credits, or a price reduction. Most of the time, you can work something out if you're willing to have that conversation. But if you skip the inspection or rush through a cheap one just to save a few $100, you lose all of that. You're basically walking in blind. And in this market, what you can't see is usually what costs you the most. So don't skip it, don't rush it, use it in your favor. The homes that cost people the most aren't the ones with obvious issues. It's the ones where the real price never shows up on the listing. That's where people get caught. Now, if you're looking at homes at Cape Coral, Fort Myers, or Lehigh Acres, and you want a straight answer on what you're actually buying, just email me at german@swflhouses.com today. I'll tell you what I see, not what you want to hear. But there's a lot more going on in Cape Coral and Fort Myers than most people think. I linked another video right here. Go check that out next. It'll give you a better picture. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.